The silence of space broke as Lillian Reeves's small fighter ship shook violently. The red warning lights flashed across her control panel. Something had caught her ship in its grip. A strange purple light surrounded her vessel, pulling it away. From its patrol route near Saturn's rings. "Base Command, this is Commander Reeves. Something's got me. Some kind of energy field, not anything we've seen before." Lillian tried to stay calm as she spoke into her radio. Only static answered her. Her hands moved quickly over the controls, trying to break free. The engines whined as they pushed against the pull, but it was no use. Through her viewport, Lillian saw it, a massive ship appearing as if from nowhere. It shimmered like crystal, with parts that seemed solid and others that looked like flowing water. Nothing in human records matched this ship. "Definitely not one of ours," Lillian whispered to herself. After years of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, she was about to find out. And she would be the first. Inside the alien vessel, Princess Zaravek stood tall on the command deck. Her slender 9-foot frame was covered in a translucent exoskeleton that shimmered with soft blue and purple lights. These lights changed patterns with her moods, a trait of her species. Right now, they showed surprise and worry, though she tried to control them. "The human craft should not have detected our presence," said her chief science officer Mevloth. "Our cloaking technology has never failed before." "Yet it did," Princess Zaravek replied. Her voice was musical, like several tones playing at once. "Bring the craft into Containment Bay 3. I will meet this human myself." Her royal guards chittered in protest. "Your Highness, it is not safe. Let us handle this primitive being." The princess's exoskeleton flashed with a pattern that silenced them instantly. "The Council forbade contact with Earth for good reason. Since it has happened anyway, I must see what we are dealing with." As Lillian's ship was pulled into the massive alien vessel, she checked her sidearm and put on her helmet. Basic protocol for unknown contact situations. Be ready for anything, but don't appear threatening unless necessary. Her heart pounded in her chest. Everything in human history would change because of what happened next. Inside a vast chamber with walls that seemed to shift colors, Lillian's ship came to rest gently on a smooth floor. The purple energy field disappeared. Through her viewport, she could see tall, insect-like beings gathering around her ship. They carried what looked like weapons but held them pointed down. Lillian took a deep breath. "Here goes nothing," she said to herself and opened her ship's hatch. The air was breathable according to her helmet sensors. She removed it, letting the alien see her face. A gesture of trust, she hoped. The chamber was warmer than she expected, with a sweet scent like nothing she had smelled before. The alien being stepped back as she emerged. They were at least 9 feet tall, with 4 arms and 2 legs. Their bodies shimmered with light patterns that seemed to communicate something among them. Lillian stood straight, trying to appear confident despite feeling very small. Then the crowd of aliens parted, and a new figure approached. This one wore what looked like armor that flowed like liquid metal. The patterns of light on its body were more complex, more vibrant. Lillian could tell this was someone important. "Your kind was not supposed to detect our presence for another century," came a voice inside Lillian's mind. The alien hadn't spoken aloud, yet Lillian heard the words clearly, like music playing in her thoughts. "Your Highness," Lillian said, guessing at the title based on how the others behaved around this alien. Humanity has always had a habit of exceeding expectations. The alien's light patterns shifted rapidly. Lillian wondered if she had said something wrong. "You know I am royalty?" "Interesting." The voice in her mind seemed surprised. "I am Princess Zaravek of the 7th Vrexian dynasty. You are now aboard our research vessel. Commander Lillian Reeves, Earth Defense Force." Lillian replied with a small bow. "I wasn't expecting to meet aliens today, especially not royalty." Princess Zaravek moved closer, studying Lillian with 6 iridescent eyes that shifted position on her face. "You show no fear, Commander. Most species tremble when first meeting the Vrexian people." Lillian smiled slightly. "I'm terrified, Your Highness. I'm just good at hiding it. This response caused a ripple of light patterns among the watching aliens. The princess's own lights flashed in what might have been amusement. Come, Princess Zarovek said. Since this meeting was not planned, we must make the best of it. You will be our guest while we decide what to do. As Lillian followed the princess deeper into the ship, she noticed how the alien royal tried to maintain a composed demeanor. But the light patterns on her exoskeleton betrayed her emotions, curiosity, worry, and something like excitement. Over the next hours, Lillian was shown to private quarters and brought strange but edible food. The room had no corners, only curved walls that pulsed with soft light. There was a bed-like structure that adjusted to her body when she sat on it. Everything seemed alive in some way. Princess Zarovek visited her again before the ship's cycle entered rest period. Our council will be informed of your presence, she said. Until they respond, you will remain here. Am I a prisoner or a guest? Lillian asked directly. The princess's lights dimmed slightly. That depends on what we learn about you and what your people's intentions are toward us. We didn't even know you existed until today, Lillian pointed out. That is not entirely true, Princess Zarovek replied. Your government has suspected our presence for decades. They have files on us, classifications. You know more than you should. Lillian's surprise must have shown on her face because the princess's lights shifted to a pattern of certainty. Rest now, Commander. Tomorrow, we will speak more openly about why we are here and what happens next. With that, the princess left, her tall form gliding smoothly through a door that appeared and disappeared in the wall. Alone, Lillian sat on the strange bed and tried to process everything. First contact with an advanced alien species. Not a disaster, but not exactly friendly either. And somehow, they knew about classified Earth intelligence reports that even she wasn't supposed to know existed. One thing was clear. Princess Zarovek was hiding something important. Behind her royal composure was a secret that could change everything for humanity. And somehow Lillian needed to discover what it was. 3 days passed on the Vrexian ship. Lillian learned to tell time by the changing colors of the walls in her room. The aliens had a different way of counting hours, but she adapted quickly. Princess Zarovek seemed impressed by this. Most species take weeks to adjust to our time cycles, the princess said as she led Lillian through a long hallway. Today she was showing Lillian more of the ship. Your adaptability is unexpected. Lillian walked beside the tall alien royal, noticing how other Vrexians lowered their eyes and moved aside when they passed. Humans are good at adapting. It's how we survived on Earth. The princess's exoskeleton flashed with lights that Lillian was beginning to understand meant curiosity. Your planet has many dangers, yet you have no natural defenses, no claws, no poison, no armor like ours. We have our minds, Lillian replied. And we're stubborn. This answer seemed to please the princess. Her light patterns shifted to what Lillian now recognized as respect. They entered a large round room filled with floating screens and maps of stars. Several Vrexians worked at stations around the room, their forearms moving quickly over controls that seemed to be made of light. This is our navigation chamber, Princess Zarovek explained. From here, we chart our course through the galaxy. Lillian looked at the star maps with interest. During her military training, she had studied astronomy extensively. Something about these maps caught her attention. These coordinates don't match your stated mission parameters, she said carefully, pointing to a chart showing their course. The ship wasn't just observing Earth, it was on a path toward it. The princess's body flashed with bright colors of alarm. The other Vrexians in the room froze, all eyes turning toward them. You shouldn't be able to interpret our navigational systems, Zarovek said, her mind voice tight with control. Lillian met the princess's 6 eyes steadily. I've always been good with maps, and those markers clearly show Earth as your destination, not just a research point. The princess dismissed the other Vrexians from the room with a sharp gesture. When they were alone, her composed demeanor slipped. Further, Commander Reeves, there are things happening that you do not understand, she said, her light patterns now rapid and disturbed. Then help me understand, Lillian said. Because from where I stand, it looks like your ship is planning something that involves my planet, something you didn't want me to know about. Princess Zaravek seemed to struggle internally. Her tall form moved back and forth, lights pulsing along her exoskeleton. Finally, she touched a control, and a new image appeared. Earth, but with its oceans highlighted. Your planet has something we need, the princess said quietly. Elements in your oceans that exist nowhere else we've found in the galaxy. Elements essential to our survival. Lillian felt cold fear grip her. You're planning to take our oceans? That would kill everything on Earth. Not me, Princess Zaravek said quickly. Not my house. But yes, there is a faction within the Vrexian Empire that plans to harvest your oceans. My cousin, Admiral Krelvor, leads this mission. Then why are you here? Lillian asked, her hand instinctively moving toward her sidearm, though she knew it would be useless against an entire alien ship. The princess's lights dimmed to almost nothing. I am here to assess whether your species deserves protection under galactic law. If a species shows sufficient advancement and potential, the Council forbids resource extraction that would cause extinction. And? What have you decided? Lillian held her breath. I had not decided. Until now. Princess Zaravex's lights shifted to a steady blue pattern. Your understanding of our navigation, your quick adaptation to our ship. These are signs I cannot ignore. Humanity has potential beyond what my people expected. Relief flooded through Lillian, but it was short-lived. However, the princess continued, Admiral Krelvor will not accept my assessment easily. He has the support of 3 royal houses who desperately need the elements from your oceans. So what happens now? Lillian asked. Now I must convince the council before my cousin arrives with the extraction fleet, Princess Zaravek said, and you must remain hidden. If the Admiral learns of your presence, he will use it to claim that I've been influenced by human emotions. That night, alone in her quarters, Lillian couldn't sleep. The princess had confirmed her worst fears. An alien fleet was coming to drain Earth's oceans. Billions would die. And the only thing standing between humanity and extinction was an alien princess who seemed conflicted about her own decision. A soft sound woke Lillian from her troubled thoughts. The wall of her room was opening, but not in the usual doorway pattern. This was different, a hidden entrance. She reached for a piece of equipment she could use as a weapon, but stopped when she saw Princess Zaravek slip into the room. The princess's light patterns were dimmed almost completely. She was hiding her presence. Quickly, the princess whispered in Lillian's mind. My cousin's scouts have arrived early. They are searching the ship for signs that I've made contact with. Humans. Lillian got up immediately, pulling on her uniform jacket. Where can we go? There is a secure chamber near my personal quarters. Few know of it. Princess Zaravek led her through the hidden passage, which closed seamlessly behind them. They moved through narrow corridors that seemed to be between the main hallways of the ship. Lillian realized these must be maintenance passages, or perhaps secret routes for royal security. Your cousin, how powerful is he? Lillian asked as they hurried along. He commands the largest fleet in our empire, the princess replied, and 3 royal houses support him in the council. And you? Who supports you? The princess paused, her lights flickering sadly. My house stands alone in this matter. The other houses see Earth as just another resource world. They do not value potential as I do. They had almost reached the secure chamber when voices echoed ahead. The princess pulled Lillian into a small alcove, her large form shielding the human from view. 4 Vrexian guards passed by, their armor different from those Lillian had seen before, darker, with red light patterns. Admiral's personal guard, Princess Zaravek explained once they had passed. They should not be in this section of the ship. He oversteps his authority. When they finally reached the secure chamber, Lillian was surprised to find it contained communication equipment and weapons. The princess activated a screen showing a large Vrexian ship approaching. The Admiral's vessel, she explained. He was supposed to wait for my report to the Council before coming. This is not good. What does it mean? Lillian asked, though she feared she knew the answer. It means he intends to override my authority and proceed with the extraction plan, Princess Zaravek said, her composure finally breaking completely. Her exoskeleton flashed with patterns of anger and fear. He knows I might recommend protecting Earth? The princess turned to Lillian, her 6 eyes focused intently. Commander, I must ask you something important. If I oppose my cousin, it could mean civil war among my people. Many Vrexians would die. Is humanity worth such a price? Lillian thought carefully before answering. I can't make that choice for you, Your Highness. But I can tell you that humans would fight with everything we have to protect our world. We would rather die free than be exterminated without a chance. The princess's lights shifted to a pattern Lillian hadn't seen before. Resolution. Then, I have made my decision, Princess Zaravek said. I will invoke ancient law to protect Earth, but we must prepare. When my cousin arrives, things will become dangerous for both of us. She handed Lillian what looked like a small crystal. This will allow you to understand our language directly, not just through mind speech. You will need it in the days to come. Lillian took the crystal, feeling its warmth against her palm. Thank you for choosing to help us. The princess's lights pulsed gently. It is not just for humanity that I do this. It is for my people too. We cannot build our future on the extinction of others. That path leads only to our own destruction. An alarm sounded throughout the ship. The princess's lights flashed with urgency. The Admiral's ship has docked, she said. It begins now. Admiral Krelvor strode into the great hall of the flagship with his guards close behind him. He was larger than Princess Zaravek's, with an exoskeleton that glowed deep red and gold. Where the princess was graceful, the Admiral was imposing. His forearms were adorned with ceremonial armor that showed his many battle victories. Cousin, he said, his mind voice booming throughout the hall. I received troubling reports about your research mission. Princess Zaravek stood at the far end of the hall wearing her royal regalia. Her exoskeleton was carefully controlled to show only calm blue patterns, hiding her true feelings. Lillian watched from a hidden alcove behind the princess's throne. As they had planned. Admiral, the princess replied coolly, you arrive unannounced and with a battle fleet. This is unusual for a simple meeting of family. The Admiral's lights flashed with barely contained anger. There is nothing simple about this meeting. You have been near the human world for 3 cycles without sending proper reports to the Council. Why? My assessment was not complete, Princess, Zaravek said. The Council expects thoroughness, not haste. Admiral Krelvor moved closer, towering over his cousin. Or perhaps you found something that made you hesitate in your duty. Something that made you consider denying us the resources we need. The princess maintained her composed exterior, though Lillian could see faint flickers of tension in her light patterns. The Elements Protocol is clear, cousin. We must determine if a species meets the criteria for protection before resource extraction. We have studied these humans for decades, the Admiral shouted, his patience breaking. They are primitive, violent, and short-lived. They barely manage to keep from destroying their own planet. They do not meet the criteria. Princess Zaravek tilted her head slightly. Yet, they have achieved space travel, created complex art, developed medicine, and show remarkable adaptability. These are all criteria the Council considers valuable. The Admiral's guards shifted nervously as his exoskeleton flared with bright, angry colors. You delay because you have grown soft. The royal houses whisper that you spend too much time studying lesser species instead of focusing on our empire's needs. The hall had begun to fill with other Vrexians, nobles, scientists, and ship crew, all drawn by the confrontation between the 2 royals. Lillian counted at least 50 aliens now watching the dispute unfold. I demand an emergency. Council meeting, Admiral Krelvor announced. Here on this ship now. Let all houses present give their voice on this matter. The princess's lights dimmed slightly. This was not part of her plan, but she could not refuse without appearing weak. Very well, she said. Summon the representatives of all houses present in our fleet. Within an hour, the great hall was transformed into a council chamber. 7 Vrexians, each wearing distinctive armor showing their house colors, sat in a semicircle. Princess Zarovex and Admiral Krelvor stood in the center. From her hiding place, Lillian watched anxiously. The princess had explained that these 7 houses would vote on Earth's fate. 4 votes would decide the matter. The admiral already had 3 houses supporting him. The princess needed to convince 4 others to side with her. Esteemed council, Admiral Krelvor began, I bring evidence that Princess Zarovex has failed in her duty. She delays the resource extraction mission because she has developed an inappropriate fascination with humans. Murmurs spread through the watching crowd. The council members' light patterns showed concern. What evidence do you present? Asked a council member with green and gold patterns. The admiral gestured, and one of his guards activated a projection. It showed Princess Zarovex walking through the ship corridors with Lillian at her side. She has captured a human and keeps it alive on this ship, the admiral declared. She shows it our technology, our navigation systems, our ways. This is a direct violation of council law regarding primitive species. The council members' lights flashed with shock and disapproval. The princess's carefully maintained composure wavered, her exoskeleton showing brief patterns of alarm before she regained control. I have not violated our laws, Princess Zarovex stated calmly. The human vessel detected our presence due to an unexpected failure in our cloaking technology. Contact was unavoidable. I chose to study this human directly as part of my assessment. An assessment you seem unwilling to complete, the admiral countered. I move to relieve Princess Zarovex of command under Article 7 of the Imperial Code, on grounds of emotional compromise. The council stirred, their light patterns showing they were considering this serious charge. To be relieved of command was a grave dishonor for any royal. Princess Zarovex's lights dimmed to a deep blue. Before you vote on such a measure, I wish to invoke an ancient law, one that supersedes even the council's authority in matters of species protection. The admiral's lights flashed with surprise. What law could possibly? I invoke the right of challenge, Princess Zarovex announced, her voice ringing through the hall. If Earth is to be judged, let it be by the oldest traditions of our people. The hall erupted in chittering sounds and flashing light patterns. Even the council members seemed shocked by this declaration. The right of challenge has not been invoked for 700 cycles, said one elderly council member. It is almost forgotten. Yet it remains law, the princess replied. No Vrexian can deny this right when properly invoked by a royal blood. Admiral Krelvor's exoskeleton flashed with rage. You would risk everything on this ancient custom? For what purpose? To ensure justice, Princess Zarovex said simply. The right of challenge allows me to name a champion to represent Earth's interests. If this champion completes the trial of judgment, Earth will receive protection status for 1,000 cycles. The admiral laughed, a strange chittering sound. And who would you name as champion? Yourself? That would be most improper for one of royal blood. Princess Zarovex turned and gestured toward the hidden alcove. I name the human, Commander Lillian Reeves of Earth. Lillian stepped out from her hiding place facing the assembled Vrexians with all the courage she could muster. The aliens chittered and flashed with astonishment. Some moved back, as if a dangerous animal had been released among them. This is absurd, Admiral Krelvor shouted. A human cannot participate in our sacred trial. It is an insult to our traditions. The law does not specify that the champion must be Vrexian, the princess countered. Only that the one who invokes the challenge may name any champion they deem worthy. The council conferred among themselves, their light patterns moving rapidly. Finally, the eldest spoke. The princess is correct in her interpretation of the ancient law. It is her right to name any champion. If the human accepts, the trial of judgment must proceed. All eyes turned to Lillian. She stepped forward and bowed in the Vrexian manner the princess had taught her. I accept the role of champion for Earth, she said clearly, the crystal the princess had given her allowing her words to be understood by all present. Admiral Krelvor's exoskeleton flashed with dark satisfaction. You condemn your planet to death, human. No non-Vrexian has ever completed the trial of judgment. It was designed for our biology, our minds. Then you have nothing to fear from allowing it, Lillian replied evenly. The Admiral turned to the princess, his lights showing mockery. Very well, cousin. Your human pet will face the trial. When she fails, as she must, you will submit to the Council's decision without further delay, and you will face punishment for this disruption. Princess Zaravex's composed exterior remained intact, but Lillian could see tiny flickers of worry in her light patterns. The trial will begin at the next cycle, the Council Elder announced. Both parties will prepare according to tradition. As the Council members departed, Admiral Krelvor approached Lillian directly for the first time. He towered over her, his exoskeleton pulsing with threatening colors. Your princess has not told you everything, human, he said quietly, so only Lillian could hear. The trial has broken the minds of Vrexians far superior to your kind. You face not just failure but obliteration. Lillian met his gaze steadily. Then I'll be the first to succeed. The Admiral's lights flashed with amusement. Your confidence is entertaining. Enjoy your final hours of sanity. He turned and left with his guards. Princess Zaravex approached Lillian once the hall had mostly emptied. You did well, she said. But my cousin is right about one thing. I have not told you everything about the trial. Lillian nodded. I figured as much. So tell me now while we have time. The princess's lights dimmed with what seemed like guilt. The trial of judgment tests mind, body, and spirit in ways that are particularly difficult for non-Vrexians. No alien species has ever completed it. Why offer it then? Lillian asked. Because I believe you can succeed where others failed, the princess replied, her upper limb touching Lillian's shoulder briefly. Humans possess adaptability that my people cannot comprehend, and because it was the only way to prevent immediate action against your world. How long do we have to prepare? 6 Earth hours, the princess said. Come. There are things you must know if you are to have any chance of survival. As they left the great hall, Lillian noticed many Vrexians watching her with curious light patterns. Word of the challenge had spread quickly throughout the ship. She was now the center of attention and the focus of Earth's last hop. The trial of judgment took place in an ancient arena within the crystalline ship, a perfect sphere where gravity could be manipulated at will. Lillian stood at one entrance, wearing a modified Vrexian environmental suit that Princess Zaravex had provided for her. The suit was lightweight but strong, with a clear helmet that would allow her to breathe no matter what conditions the trial created. The arena will change for each of the 3 challenges, the princess explained as she helped Lillian adjust the final connections on the suit. Mind, body, and spirit. Each will test you in different ways. Lillian checked the strange weapon she had been given, a short staff that could change its form based on her thoughts. Any last advice? Princess Zaravex's exoskeleton dimmed, showing her worry despite her attempts to maintain royal composure. The trial was designed to be impossible for non-Vrexians, but remember, it tests your human qualities against Vrexian standards. Your differences may be your strength. Admiral Krelvor approached with his guards. His exoskeleton flashed with mocking patterns. Time to begin, human. My ships are already positioning themselves around your world, ready to begin extraction. Once your failure is recorded, Lillian felt a cold anger rise within her. Billions of lives depended on her success. I won't fail, the Admiral chittered, a Vrexian laugh. Brave words. Let us see how long your courage lasts. A deep tone sounded throughout the arena. Princess Zaravex stepped back. It begins. May your mind be clear, your body strong, and your spirit unbreakable. Lillian nodded and stepped into the arena. The entrance sealed behind her, leaving her alone in the perfect sphere. Hundreds of Vrexians watched from transparent sections, built into the walls. She could see Princess Zaravex in the royal observation pod, her tall form tense with concern. First challenge. Mind, announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere. The challenger must navigate the labyrinth of thought. The arena floor beneath Lillian's feet began to shift and rise. Walls formed around her, creating a maze that continued to change and move. The walls were transparent in some places, solid in others, and some seemed to be made of energy fields. The labyrinth reconfigures based on your thoughts, Princess Zarevex had explained earlier. It reads your mind and creates new paths or dead ends accordingly. You must reach the center. Lillian began walking carefully. When she thought about turning left, the maze would shift to block that path. When she considered climbing over a wall, it would grow taller. The challenge was to trick the maze, to think one thing but do another. She closed her eyes and tried to clear her mind. This was similar to counter-interrogation training she had received in the military. Don't think about what you're going to do. Act on instinct. Lillian began to move without planning her route. When a wall appeared, she would react in the moment, sometimes doubling back, sometimes waiting. The maze seemed confused by this approach. It couldn't predict her moves if she wasn't planning them. In the observation pod, Princess Zarevex's exoskeleton lit up with surprise. She's using her instincts rather than logic, she explained to the council members watching beside her. Our people rely heavily on planned thought patterns. This approach is unexpected. Admiral Krelvor watched with narrowed eyes. A lucky strategy. The physical challenges will break her. After what felt like hours of navigating the ever-changing maze, Lillian found herself at its center. A glowing orb floated there. She reached out and touched it. First challenge complete, announced the voice. Second challenge, body. The maze disappeared. The arena transformed into a barren landscape with strange rock formations. Gravity began to shift unpredictably. One moment, Lillian felt as heavy as if she were carrying 3 times her weight. The next, she was nearly floating. The challenger must reach the far side while gravity shifts. Failure to maintain balance will result in disqualification. Lillian saw the goal, a glowing doorway on the opposite side of the arena. The distance wasn't great, perhaps 200 meters, but with the changing gravity it would be like walking through a storm. She began to move forward. A step that should have been easy suddenly became nearly impossible as gravity increased tenfold. Her muscles strained against the pressure. Then just as quickly gravity reversed and she found herself being pulled upward. Lillian grabbed onto a rock formation to keep from being thrown into the ceiling. Her training as a pilot had included zero-gravity exercises, but nothing like this constant change. In the observation pod, Admiral Krelvor's exoskeleton flashed with satisfaction. No human can survive these gravity shifts. Their bodies are too fragile. Princess Zarevex said nothing, but her lights showed her concern as she watched Lillian struggle. Lillian realized she needed to use the gravity shifts to her advantage. When gravity lessened, she pushed off hard from the ground, letting the near weightlessness carry her forward faster than she could run. When gravity increased, she braced herself against rock formations, using them as anchors to prevent being crushed. Progress was slow and painful. Several times she nearly lost consciousness as blood rushed to or from her head with the gravity changes. The environmental suit helped regulate her body's responses, but it could only do so much. After a grueling hour, Lillian dragged herself to the glowing doorway, her body aching from the strain. She collapsed through it just as gravity shifted again. Second challenge complete, the voice announced. Final challenge. Spirit. The arena transformed once more. This time, there was nothing, just an empty white space that seemed to go on, forever. Lillian stood alone in the vastness. The challenger must face the void and find truth within. Lillian waited, unsure what to expect. Then the whiteness began to shift and take form. She saw Earth, her home planet, peaceful and blue in the blackness of space. Then Vrexian ships surrounded it. Beams of energy shot down to the oceans, which began to rise up into the sky, being harvested by the alien vessels. She knew this wasn't real. It was a vision, a test, but it felt real. She could hear the screams of people as cities flooded, as the planet's ecosystem collapsed. "This is what will happen when you fail," said Admiral Krelvor's voice, though he wasn't physically present. "This is inevitable." The vision changed. Now Lillian saw herself accepting a position of power within the Vrexian Empire. She wore elaborate armor similar to the princess's. Vrexian nobles bowed to her. "You could save yourself," the voice continued. "Join us. Help us harvest other worlds less important than Earth. Your planet would be spared." Lillian felt a cold rage build inside her. "I don't betray my people. Or any people." The vision shifted again. Now she saw Princess Zaravex being punished for supporting Earth. The princess was stripped of her royal status. Her exoskeleton dulled and darkened in disgrace. "Your failure will destroy her too," the voice said. "She risked everything for you. Was it worth her suffering?" This vision cut deeper than the others. The princess had indeed risked everything to help Earth, to help humanity. In the observation pod, Princess Zaravex watched as Lillian stood motionless in the white void. "What is she seeing?" she asked the council elder beside her. "The void shows each challenger their deepest fears and temptations," the elder replied. "It breaks the spirit by offering impossible choices." Admiral Krelvor's exoskeleton flashed with triumph. "No alien has ever maintained their resolve in the void. It is designed to exploit weaknesses that all species share." Inside the void, Lillian faced vision after vision. Earth destroyed, her family killed, the princess disgraced, herself elevated to power at the cost of her humanity. Each scenario more tempting or more horrifying than the last. Finally, she understood the test. The void wanted her to choose, to either give in to fear or to be tempted by power. But there was another option. "None of this is real," Lillian said firmly. "These are just possibilities, not certainties. I reject the premise that I must choose between worlds or between people." The vision swirled around her angrily. "I choose to believe in a future where different species can coexist," she continued. "Where resources are shared, not stolen. Where strength doesn't mean domination." In the observation pod, Princess Zaravex's exoskeleton suddenly blazed with bright, shocked patterns. "She's rejecting the void itself," she whispered, "not choosing from its options, but creating her own." The white space around Lillian began to crack like glass. Through the cracks, she could see the real arena beyond. The illusion was breaking. "I choose to create a new path," Lillian declared loudly. "One that hasn't been shown to me. One that benefits both our peoples." With a sound like shattering crystal, the void collapsed around her. Lillian found herself standing in the center of the arena, the illusion completely gone. A silence fell over the watching Vrexians. "Final challenge complete," the voice announced, sounding almost surprised. "The trial of judgment is concluded. The champion has succeeded." The arena erupted in chittering sounds and flashing light patterns. Never before had a non-Vrexian completed the trial, let alone a human. Princess Zaravex's exoskeleton glowed, with an intensity that illuminated the entire observation pod. Admiral Krelvor stood frozen, his light patterns showing disbelief and rage. "Impossible," he hissed. "The trial must have been compromised." Admiral Krelvor refused to accept the trial's outcome. As Lillian rested in the medical chamber recovering from her ordeal, Princess Zaravex received reports of the Admiral's growing defiance. "He has gathered his loyal captains," said Mevloth, the princess's chief science officer. "They speak of taking control of the flagship by force." Princess Zaravex's exoskeleton dimmed with concern. "Has he directly violated the Council's ruling?" "Not yet, Your Highness. But his ships have not withdrawn from Earth orbit as ordered." The princess paced the command deck, her light patterns shifting rapidly between worry and determination. "Increase security around the human. My cousin may try to eliminate her to invalidate the trial's outcome." When Lillian awoke hours later, she found herself in a different room, with 4 Vrexian royal guards stationed at the door. Her body ached from the trial, but Vrexian medical technology had helped her recover quickly. Princess Zaravex entered, her tall form moving gracefully, despite obvious tension in her light patterns. "You are awake. Good. We have little time." "What's happening?" Lillian asked, sitting up. "My cousin refuses to withdraw his fleet from Earth. He claims the trial was corrupted and demands a review by the full council." The princess's composure slipped slightly, her lights showing flashes of anger. "This is merely a delay tactic. He plans something more direct." Lillian swung her legs off the bed, ignoring the pain that shot through her muscles. "What can we do?" "I have called for reinforcements from my house, but they will not arrive for many hours." Princess Zaravex's exoskeleton dimmed. "Until then, we are vulnerable. My loyal crew is outnumbered by the Admiral's forces already aboard." A sharp alarm suddenly blared throughout the ship. The princess's lights flashed with alarm. "He moved sooner than I expected," she said. "We must reach the secure communication chamber. From there I can contact the council directly with evidence of his treachery." They left the medical chamber with the guards forming a protective circle around them. The corridors of the ship, once peaceful, now felt tense and dangerous. Twice they changed routes to avoid groups of the Admiral's soldiers. "The communication chamber is just ahead," Princess Zaravex said as they turned down a wide corridor. That's when they saw him. Admiral Krelvor stood blocking their path, flanked by a dozen of his personal guards. His exoskeleton glowed with dark triumph. "Cousin," he said, his mind voice cold. "You and your human pet have caused quite enough trouble." Princess Zaravex stepped forward, her royal armor activating defensive protocols that made her exoskeleton shine brilliantly. "You violate sacred law, Krelvor. Stand aside." "Sacred law?" The Admiral laughed. "You speak of ancient customs while our people face resource depletion. The Council is too afraid to do what must be done." "I am not." He gestured, and his guards raised their weapons, crystalline devices that hummed with energy. The human completed. "The trial fairly," the princess said. "Earth is protected. Attack us and you become a traitor to everything our civilization stands for." Admiral Krelvor's exoskeleton flashed with rage. "Our civilization is dying. The elements in Earth's oceans could sustain us for generations. I will not let one human and one sentimental princess condemn our people to a slow death." "There are other ways," Lillian said, stepping up beside the princess. "Trade, cooperation. Humanity could help you find these elements elsewhere." "Silence!" the Admiral roared. "You know nothing of our needs or our struggles." His guards advanced. The princess's royal guards moved to intercept them. The corridor erupted in chaos as energy weapons fired, and Vrexians fought hand to hand, their 4 arms giving them complex fighting styles unlike anything Lillian had seen. Princess Zaravex pulled Lillian aside. "There is another way to the communication chamber. Through here." She pressed a hidden panel, revealing a maintenance passage. As they slipped into the narrow corridor, the sounds of battle followed them. The princess led the way, her tall form having to stoop in the low passage. "Your cousin seems willing to start a civil war," Lillian said as they hurried along. "The division has existed for generations," Princess Zaravex replied. "Some believe we must take whatever resources we need, regardless of the cost to other species. Others, like my house, believe in balance and cooperation." They emerged into a small chamber filled with communication equipment. The princess immediately began activating systems, her 4 hands working rapidly over the controls. "I must contact the High Council directly," she explained. "With evidence of my cousin's treason, they will send the Imperial fleet." Before she could complete the transmission, the door to the chamber burst open. Admiral Krelvor stood there, alone, his armor damaged from the fight and his exoskeleton pulsing with dangerous patterns. "Always running, cousin," he said. "Always hiding behind laws and customs instead of facing reality." Princess Zaravex positioned herself between the Admiral and Lillian. "Reality is that we cannot build our future on the extinction of others. That path leads only to our own destruction." The admiral raised his weapon. A philosophy for the weak. Our ancestors took what they needed without hesitation. That is how we built our empire. And that is why so many worlds hate and fear us, the princess replied. Why we must maintain hidden fleets instead of open relations. Why we are increasingly alone in the galaxy. Lillian watched the standoff, looking for any way to help. She noticed the admiral's weapon charging, a buildup of energy that made the crystal core glow brighter. The High Council has grown soft like you, Admiral Krelvor said. Perhaps it is time for new leadership. He raised his weapon, aiming not at Lillian but at the princess. Lillian didn't think. She acted on instinct, throwing herself forward, just as the admiral fired. Her modified Vrexian suit absorbed much of the energy blast, but the impact still threw her across the room. Pain unlike anything she had ever felt coursed through her body. Princess Zaravex's composure shattered completely. Her exoskeleton exploded with colors so bright they illuminated the entire chamber. She cried out in a voice that was both mind and sound, a wail of anguish that made the admiral step back in shock. "What have you done?" she screamed, rushing to Lillian's side. "What have you done?" The admiral stood frozen, his weapon still raised but his exoskeleton showing confusion. "She interfered. It was meant for you, not her." The princess cradled Lillian's head gently. "Stay with me, Lillian Reeves. Our medical technology can heal you." Lillian tried to speak, but could only manage a weak smile. She had acted without thinking, protecting someone who had become important to her in ways she didn't fully understand. The princess turned to face her cousin, her exoskeleton now radiating colors never before seen in the royal court. The patterns were so intense that the admiral stepped back further, his own lights showing fear for the first time. "The binding light," he whispered. "It cannot be." Other Vrexians had arrived at the doorway, drawn by the commotion. They too fell, silent at the sight of the princess's exoskeleton. Lillian didn't understand what was happening, but she could see the shock on every alien face. The princess's body seemed to glow from within, patterns shifting in ways that seemed to affect every Vrexian who saw them. "The legends," one elder Vrexian whispered. "The ancient texts speak of this. The binding light only appears when a Vrexian forms a life bond," Princess Zaravex finished, her voice steady despite the emotional display of her exoskeleton. "A connection that transcends species, space, and time." The admiral lowered his weapon, his exoskeleton showing defeat. "You have bonded with a human? This is unprecedented, impossible." "Yet it has happened," the princess replied. "By our most ancient laws, this bond elevates her species to protected status beyond even what the trial bestowed." More Vrexians had gathered, their chittering voices spreading the news throughout the ship. The binding light was a phenomenon most had believed to be merely legend, a physiological response so rare it had not been documented in thousands of cycles. Lillian felt herself being lifted gently by Vrexian medical staff. The princess never left her side as they rushed her to the advanced medical chamber. "What's happening?" Lillian managed to ask as healing energy surrounded her. Princess Zaravex's exoskeleton had dimmed somewhat, but still glowed with unusual patterns. "Your sacrifice triggered something within me, something I did not know was possible with a non-Vrexian. Our people believe that destiny reveals itself in moments of crisis." "And what has it revealed?" Lillian asked, the pain beginning to fade as the medical technology worked. "That our species' futures are intertwined in ways none of us anticipated," the princess replied, her multifaceted eyes studying Lillian with new understanding. "The binding light is considered sacred among my people. It cannot be faked or forced. Its appearance has changed everything." Admiral Krelvor had been taken into custody by loyal guards. Reports came in that his fleet was standing down, his supporters unwilling to fight against what many saw as a divine sign. As Lillian recovered over the next day, diplomatic messages arrived from Earth. The Vrexian ships in orbit had been detected, causing worldwide panic. Now, Princess Zaravex faced the challenge of establishing first official contact with humanity. Does this make me Vrexian royalty now? Lillian asked with a weak smile as they prepared to respond to Earth's messages.